Jeremy Corbyn, 251,000.
If you're trying to create a feeling that there is a Jewish conspiracy intervening in politics, I can't think of a better way of doing it than what actually happened.
The Labour Party now, I'll tell you right now, has become institutionally anti-Semitic.
Anti-Semitism is a problem. It exists in our society, and we shouldn't pretend that it doesn't. The question is it worse in the Labour Party than it is anywhere else? And until this scandal broke, it was very clear that Labour Party voters were less likely to be anti-Semitic.
The latest report that we published in September 2018 was focused on the issue of anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. And what we find is an overwhelming emphasis on sources mobilizing a particular agenda and a particular viewpoint.
People, most of whom were not Jewish, going to the media and screaming their heads off and trying to create hysteria, trying to terrify the Jewish population, to create an atmosphere of fear of potential purges within a political party.
I didn't live through McCarthyism, but I feel this is a thing that has its own rules. It allows organizations, the media, powerful people to simply make allegations without even attempting to provide a factual basis for those allegations.
They went through anything that Corbyn had ever said and tried to figure, is there anything we can construct as if it were somehow anti-Semitic?
Stand together with the people of Palestine for their liberation.
It's enough to make the allegation to destroy someone's career or to destroy someone's reputation. These are the characteristics of the witch hunt.
A film was recently released about the controversies surrounding anti-Semitism in the British Labour Party and how this has embroiled the whole body politic in Britain.
The way that the politics has evolved in recent years was impossible to ignore.
Chief Rabbi of the United Hebrew Congregations of Great Britain and the Commonwealth, Rabbi Ephraim Mervis.
What would happen if the next incumbent would be Jeremy Corbyn? What would the consequences be for Jews and Judaism and the State of Israel?
The idea that the Labour Party is uninhabitable for Jews. This is what's written in the Jewish Chronicle.
One of the important aspects of the film is to demonstrate to people that there's a very legitimate Jewish voice that rejects the attacks on Corbyn and rejects the attacks on pro-Palestinian supporters.
On the 12th of December 2019, not only was Labour defeated, it was an emphatic landslide victory.
The Hanukkah miracle has happened. The beast is slain.
I will not lead the party in any future general election campaign.
Jeremy Corbyn is a good person who was terrorized by a relentlessly dishonest and vicious misinformation-driven press, social media operations.
We did it by word and deed, by protest and tweet, by our spies and intel.
The Israeli agent, Shai Massot, worked for Gilad Erdan's Ministry of Strategic Affairs. Their main propaganda weapon was to denigrate anyone who is critical of Israel and of Zionism as anti-Semitic.
Then after what happened in the UK, there's been a second round, and people were saying, well, maybe if it worked so well against Corbyn, we can try it against Sanders.
Take a leaf out of our book. That is what the Jews of the United Kingdom have done together with our many friends. And the results are there to be seen.
Of course, Sanders is Jewish, so it's going to be a little more difficult.
I don't care if you're black, you're white, you're Latino, Native American, Asian American, you're gay, you're straight. We are human beings and we share common dreams.
We got a deep Jewish brother named Bernie Sanders who's bringing us together.
The Palestinian people have a right to live in peace and security as well.
This is a man who calls Bibi Netanyahu a racist, champions people like Corbyn.
You cannot ignore the suffering of the Palestinian people.
He used words, phrases with respect to Israel's conduct of the war in Gaza in 2014 that had never been used before. Excessive force, disproportionate Palestinian death, his ethnic bona fides make it difficult to call him anti-Semitic. It's what makes him dangerous, Michelle.
They are taking one of the most serious and poisonous things that has existed in human history, weaponizing it to destroy any basic decency in politics as represented by Corbyn and Sanders, and saying anybody that rightly opposes racism and apartheid in the Middle East is anti-Semitic.
One of the things which is terrifying is how the right wing has essentially captured the Jewish identity more and more.
We believe Israel has a right to defend itself from any aggressor, Islamist or otherwise. And if those two things make me a Zionist, then so be it. I must be a Zionist.
As the film makes clear, an aspect of this witch hunt is very much about ethnic nationalism and racial supremacy. That really is, at its core, what those on the right are trying to promote.
The Zionist project, emboldened by unprecedented support from the Trump White House, is now surging ahead in its attempt to eliminate Palestine from history.
The project of Zionism has ended up in an absolutely horrific right-wing government. That doesn't mean it had to turn out that way.
Its muscular ultranationalism has become a model and an inspiration, not just for white supremacists in America, but for extreme right regimes now emerging across parts of Europe.
The idea that the leader of Israel would be in collusion with an anti-Semitic leader in Hungary is beyond belief.
It's a deep, profound insult to the humanistic spirit which is at the core of Judaism. It is itself anti-Semitic.
How do we transcend those tendencies? How do we repivot the discussion on the basis of universalist principles? That's our core battle here.